In a purchase order, we would outline the scope of works for that subcontractor.
But they don't read that, do they?
Well, they should. They're signing it off. They should.
What about guys just trying to like weasel out of shit? Oh, I didn't allow for that.
Yeah.
That happens every day.
Again, that comes down to subcontractor selection. Like in early days, used to get that a lot, but then
Early days. Still happens.
and yeah, it still happens, but
Yeah.
you don't always get everything right either. You know, it's about okay, if a mistake's happened, why has that happened? How do we make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have two very special guests today. We have Bevan and Adrian from Dimpat, architectural builders in Melbourne, OGs in the game.
Does that mean we're old or?
The age comes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is also a very special episode because it's the first time we're drinking beers on the show.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to the Friday afternoon, 2 p.m. when nothing bad happens.
Exactly. Hopefully.
Now, we did go with Carlton Dries because Bevan wanted a low-calorie option. That's why. Cool. I mean, could we just start with, a lot of these listeners will know who you guys are, but does one of you want to do a quick introduction on Dimpat, what Dimpat is?
I mean, it's kind of odd to hear a lot of people know who we are, but we're Dimpat. Bevan's the Dim, I'm the Pat. We've been going for 9 odd years now.
Mm-hmm.
We've been fortunate enough to build some amazing homes in Melbourne, in and around Melbourne. We continue to do so. And yeah.
With the steady so much growth.
Yeah. You know, we've got 40 guys on the ground, 10 people in the office. You know, Bevan's lost all his hair. I'm still trying to hold on to mine. Yeah. That's us in a nutshell.
Yep.
Try to have fun every day.
Yep.
Yeah. 40 guys on the ground, out in the field. Mostly carpenters?
Yeah, because they range from anywhere from site managers through to apprentices.
Site managers through to apprentices.
Yeah, so we don't subcontract out our carpentry.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's all in-house.
All in-house.
All your carpentry packages are done in-house.
Yeah.
Let's just go straight into that, I guess. I mean, what was the decision making? Because I'm sure it was a tumultuous process and a lot of back and forth, or was it really easy and simple? As soon as you could, you just switched over?
Well, it's probably we fell into it. So Bevan's carpenter by trade. So starting out early days, we had a crew of 4 guys, 5 guys, 6 guys.
And that just naturally grew.
And it just kind of naturally grew, yeah.
And were you guys ever doing contract carpentry work, or was it just always for you guys internal?
That's how we first started out together. Before I was sole trading by myself, and then when I became partners at Age, we started doing carpentry packages first, and then that slowly worked into our own work.
Yeah. Wait, how you said you're the Dim, he's the Pat. How does that?
So Dimeck and Poropat. So the first 3 letters are his name, last 3 letters are mine.
So
surname.
wait, your name's Bevan.
Bevan Dimeck.
Oh, the surname.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Come on, that's I should have picked that up. Yeah, cool. So then, how do you? Is there? How do you run your projects then? Like, is it you got your CA and estimators in the office, and you with your PM, and then your site managers on site, your carpenters, labourers. Is that sort of the setup? And you guys are client facing?
Yeah, so we sort of split our work. I'd say probably 60-40 between Adrian and myself. We have PMs that work underneath us, and then each of one of our sites has a dedicated site manager. That will be there from start to finish, and then that also has a dedicated apprentice, and then we have what's called like a floating carpenter, which will sort of come in and help with punch-in labour to keep the job moving forward.
Right. So you'll have carpentry crews that run job to job essentially.
Yeah, as opposed to like a subcontract option.
But you'll have a carpenter and a site manager and a labourer assigned to a job.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And so you guys are both like construction managers then, is that?
No, well, as in terms of our role in the business, you could say we're kind of project directors essentially. And then we've got our PMs, CAs, and flow on down.
Yeah. And so who's client facing? Is it the PMs and you guys, or mainly you guys?
PM and us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that, do you find client facing is sort of the most challenging part of the job or the process?
No,
Not really.
No. We naturally find it quite easy.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, is it hard, do you think it's hard to hire for maybe?
Yeah, it is hard to hire for, 100%. You got to be pretty selective with the persons that you front your business with, which we do a lot with our sort of HR processes and so forth.
And basically all our PMs we've got now, they've come up through the business. So they've been site managers, now they're project managers. So we already understand what the person's like before they even get to that role.
Yeah. So what are you guys trying to achieve? Is there like are there goals sort of moving forward into the future in terms of like what are we just trying to do more and bigger and better, or is it just be consistent with what we're already doing? Or
consistent with what we're doing, continue on, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and just getting better every day. Really, is the
that's the goal.
Perfect,
Yeah. And is it like, and are you pretty happy with your procurement model now and sort of how the business is structured? Like it's just working.
Yeah. It's like it's busy. Like we're busy. Like we got a lot of work going on at one time, and in an ideal world, you'd like less to give you a bit more of a work-life balance. But then naturally, I think we're happy. Yeah.
We see a job, we get sucked into it because it looks so good, and we want to build it, and can't say no.
Yeah.
We are a sucker for punishment.
Yeah. So that's, I guess that's one of the things you guys are working on is trying to manage your capacity better. Right? What else are we working on trying to improve or creating systems?
Probably more of a client selection base. We are moving away from competitive tender more towards an ECI process, which has been, I guess, an on and off process for the last 4 years. Like we've had, say, half our projects were ECI, half were competitively tendered one. Whereas now we're probably moving more towards I guess it's probably more of an 80-20 model at the moment. And moving forward, we are solely focusing on ECI as opposed to competitively winning projects.
Yeah. So what does that early contractor involvement process look like with you guys? So normally you're approached by the architect?
Yeah. Yep.
So if I'm an architect and I approach you guys with a project and I say, we're looking at this job, the documentation's at the X stage.
Yeah.
What's that conversation like, and what does that process look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, depending at what stage the documentation's at. So let's say they've just come out of town planning. So they've got town planning set, and they might have early engineerings, who knows. We, sign them and the client on. So we basically a consultant, and we work through the documents, pricing at each stage. And generally we kind of, we find we're pricing every sort of 2 months through it. So it's like continual turnover. So we price it up, go through the stages, get to a point where everyone's happy with. We've had clients that have said, we only want to spend X amount. So everyone works to achieve that X amount, whatever it might be.
Yeah. And I think from a client perspective, the one of the concerns that sort of comes to my mind is how do I know that the pricing is true and competitive? How does that work? Is it based on trade breakdowns with a transparent margin, or like how does that work?
Ideally for us, early we're sort of pricing it in-house, and off previous projects we've done similar and doing like-for-like pricing. And then as the detail sort of gets drip-fed through to us, then we'll start drip-feeding out to trades and allocating the right person for the right project.
Yeah.
So, for instance, we'll go to a particular joiner because we know that joiner can achieve that detail, and we work that way. And it's a bit more of and the way we sort of explain it to the client is that we're obviously going to an A-class subcontractor, and and then we will work back from there if the pricing isn't at a level that they want to be at.
But it is all kind of essentially open book in the sense
Yeah.
that
So trade pricing plus margin.
Yeah.
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 And I mean, so that's one area of pushback that I've just thought of when it comes to that client relationship. Are there why do other builders, or why have you guys found in the past builders struggle with selling the idea of an ECI style procurement method?
probably time. A lot of builders are time poor. So going through this ECI process, it takes a lot more time and effort and energy and everything to do. So a lot of, say, I guess, other builders or, other people that are time poor, to them it's probably more of a hassle than not a hassle.
You're probably finding you're spending double, if not triple, the amount of time pricing ECI as opposed to a competitive tender.
But the better. So then what's good about it is you are being paid for some of your time.
Yep.
And you should have a better quality package to build off in terms of the design.
And your relationship building along the way as well, which is massive.
One. Yeah.
So is that the main thing?
Yeah.
The main thing is that you're building rapport and that relationship and the trust with the client.
With the client, yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to, signing a contract with a person that you met twice in your life.
And it's also just from a psychological standpoint, it's we're all working together towards a goal, as opposed to I'm submitting a price for your job.
Yeah,
it's
exactly right.
It's like we're all, like you said, we're all working towards a budget, or we're all Whereas it's like traditionally, it's like, well, you're a builder, so you're naturally going to fuck me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the mentality.
Yeah, and that's I guess an unfortunate scenario is a lot of people do have that mentality.
Yeah, it's a stereotype.
Yeah.
Which
we're trying to iron out.
Yeah, break down those walls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you find that ECI? Do you guys end up influencing the design a lot as well?
We give suggestions, but we try and steer clear from giving suggestions.
Right.
We we've always got our own ideas, but generally we get shot down.
Yeah.
But in terms of cost scenarios and if we do this a particular way, the design intent's still the same. Then
Yeah, I'm not talking about design intent. I'm more talking about like construction method and cost related stuff.
100%. We'll put forward suggestions for that. Yeah.
And so that ECI process is working well for you guys.
Yeah, it works well. We sort of do like like Adrian was saying before, we'll price it early, and then we sort of catch up with clients on a monthly basis, and they'll go through where they are at with their current design, and we'll tell them where we're at in terms of pricing, and it's a teamwork based thing where we work together to get to that client budget. So, and then we'll probably catch up with the client every 2 months and sort of present where we're at, and it's we love doing it.
Right. So it dramatically increases your success rate in terms of from a sales standpoint.
And also, sorry, you go.
Going back sort of 2-3 years ago, we we're probably pricing 60 to 70 projects a year in terms of tender.
Nuts.
And now we're sort of around probably 10 to 15, which is a massive difference.
And are you doing more work now than you were doing 2 years ago? Or
we actually increased our estimating department. We added an extra resource to help with pricing less work.
Right. So you've based on 60 to 70 down to 10 to 15, you're essentially 4 or 5xing the amount of time you're spending on tendering.
Yeah. Which in theory would give you a more accurate price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to touch on one issue with tendering that kind of really spurred us on with this was you tender, it's over budget. They've got a QS report that says, it should be on budget.
The Rawlinson book.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And, then you end up spending 4 or 5 weeks value managing the job to get it back into budget. And it's like, well, you can
when a client's been sold on a design that they like, and they're
reduce all that.
They're pulling out all the nice things they like out of the job to get it to a budget that they want to spend. So, it can be a bit of a frustrating process.
Yeah. I mean, do you see an issue with architects knowing how to manage expectations with their clients in terms of the design that they're being sold?
I wouldn't say it's an issue. It's probably that, everything we do is almost a prototype. It's,
It is.
putting together known details into a prototype, basically every house. So I don't think anyone can really know what the final price is going to be until it's priced up.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going hard on the architects to say, they don't manage expectations. Sometimes they don't, it's they've got a budget for, say, a 1-story house and they design a 2-story house. That happens. But I think a lot of the time it's all these really nice elements brought together, and it's about bringing them together into a, affordable for the client, whatever it might be, home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a model that just makes sense.
Plus also prices have gone through the roof over the last 3-year period.
I think prices have just gone up.
Exactly. The clients are engaging an architect 2 years before it's getting built. So they're going to the architect with a budget of, say, $500,000. Is that $500,000 in 2 years?
Yeah, but their wealth has grown a lot over the last 2 years as well, mate. Hey, use that one with the client next time.
Yeah.
Mate, I know the stock market's been going good for you, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another sticky situation for architects to deal with.
So tendering, no good. ECI, fantastic. Is DNC too far now in terms of if you like to go full DNC? Is that a step too far for you guys? Would you guys ever do full DNC?
I don't think so. It's not what we do.
No.
It's not our thing. Yeah.
No.
I mean, I expected that answer. But come on, boys. There's going to be a little bit of. We're trying to make an entertaining show here. Is it like you recognize that the architects are good at what they do, so you just want to let them?
Yeah, we respect their design.
Yeah.
So, and we're enjoying what we're doing. So, trying something else on top, I think it would just be add a little bit too much. Yeah.
What do you like? Are you guys seeing any like interesting trends or things happening in the industry, or like have you guys thought about or exploring like other avenues you can take the business, or other ways you can, like, for example, I know like there's a few builders now who run their own joinery.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
Like, are there things like that interest you guys, or you guys are seeing more and more?
That's something that we've been discussing for quite a while because it gives us more control over a project. We'd probably look at it more as a production as a whole, whether we went into windows, joinery, and it just gives us more management on that actual element.
Yeah. And you know what joiners are like,
Terrible.
Always late, terrible.
Yeah.
Shop drawings half done.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is they're all 30 years older than me.
Yeah.
They're all 50.
Yeah.
The ones who are doing the beautiful work.
Yeah.
Yeah. 50 and dried up and upset and angry at the world.
Yeah. It's a good scenario. How have you found it in terms of doing joinery?
That was just me being cheeky.
Yeah.
I respect a lot of these guys. That help me.
Of course. Yeah.
Like Joe from have you guys worked with Exclusive Cabinets before?
No.
Joe from Exclusive is a grumpy old Italian guy, but he's beautiful. He helps me.
That's good.
My dad's factory neighbor. He's fantastic. So, I mean, Martin have you worked with Creative Cabinets? Martin Zanin.
No.
Those old school guys, they'll help me a lot. Yeah.
That's good.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no. I was just going to ask, like, how have you found in terms of the old grumpy guys? And, I imagine probably still doing hand-drawn shop drawings almost, versus, kind of coming in with this new age approach.
Well, I mean, from a business standpoint, from a competitive edge standpoint, or how we're trying to create the value proposition around our product, I think that's certainly one area that we've tried to target. It's that the same way, similar along the veins of that ECI type thinking is let's work together to get something across the line, as opposed to this natural or this default tendency to think that every relationship is adversarial. The builder's out to get me. Architects don't know shit about how anything's built, and these clients are rich so they can pay for it. Like that's almost like the default thinking that I've seen a lot of. So that's naturally where we go in and tackle. So like the way that I've tried to create the value proposition around my product is there's 3 key stakeholders. Number one's the builder. That's who we're contracting to and who we represent.
Yeah.
So we need to be professional, and we need to give them a product on time. Quality that's a baseline. That's like, there's plenty of quality out there.
It's a given.
It's a given, right? And then there's the architect. We're trying to give them a sense of security and safety. They've got a design intent. Are these guys going to deliver on it or fuck it up? Are they going to be difficult to work with? So we're trying to give them a sense of security. Yeah. And then for your end clients, and also, look, again, I'll repeat it. Goes without saying, throughout this whole process, it's about representing the builder well and being professional. And then the magic selling point is, if we can ever get there, is to create a sense of exclusivity for the end client who actually lives in the home. It's like, fuck, this kind of cabinetry isn't something that money can buy, that my other rich friends can get just by paying someone. Yeah. They're the 3 stakeholders, and that's what we craft what I've tried to, and I'm still aspiring to craft the value proposition around.
Yeah. Okay. So just on that, in terms of what you said there, I think you hit the nail on the head. Was be professional and on time, and quality is a given. Like professional and on time. It's amazing how many people don't understand that. Yeah. Probably not so much like everyone understands being professional, but on time.
But it comes down to your trade selection. You're going to pick people that are of that ilk. That's the advantage of doing ECI. You're going to pick people that are going to make you look good as the builder. That's the advantage out of it.
Right. So that's the other thing with ECI is, because you mentioned client selection. It's something not
the client selection. It's client selection plus, it's also your subcontractor selection for that client.
Yeah. Like I guess let's just say team selection around a project. I've learned in my very short time in this industry how much 2 projects created completely equal with 2 different clients can create 2 completely different experiences. Yeah. How enjoyable it is, how profitable the job is. Yeah. All those things. It's incredible. Yeah. So is that sort of what you're really going for? Is with the estimating and the procurement is let's scale it back in terms of throwing out quotes, but make sure we're providing a really quality tendering process and experience. I'm sure the experience is much better, for the client, and you're getting more accurate pricing. They're getting more accurate pricing. Yeah, they naturally appreciate what you guys are doing because it's like we're working together to bring this project to life. Yeah,
and in the process of doing the ECI, you basically built the house in your head. You know exactly how you're going to do it before you're even starting. Yeah,
yeah. And that ECI process, is that run with you guys and the estimating team directly, and the PMs don't get involved?
No. So we'll see. Adrian and I see the process through from estimation through to DLP. So we're involved from start to finish.
Yeah. What does DLP mean?
Defect liability period.
Defect liability period. Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of pre-contract signing, it'll be us and the estimating team. Post-contract signing, it'll be us and the project delivery team, which will take it all the way to the end of DLP.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems to work well. So we're always client facing, from start.
Client facing and architect facing.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you prefer jobs where you're just solely dealing with the architect, or do you like to be dealing with the client as well, or more so the client directly?
I probably prefer dealing with the architect directly. It cuts out a lot more of the emotion.
Definitely, yeah.
We've found in the past doing client direct projects, there's obviously emotion coming from us because it's our finances and their finances. It's good having the architect involved because that's that middle ground.
The superintendent,
basically,
as brought forward in the contract.
Yeah. So much prefer that process.
Do you find that and don't say anything if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But do you find that architects aren't actually looking out for the best interests of their clients in a lot of the decisions that they're making?
I'll let you answer this one.
I'd say define that question when you say in the best interest of their clients. What do you like, as in aesthetically, financially, or or do you think they've got their own emotion in the project? And
in terms of in terms of I guess, what is project success? So I guess I guess whatever So what's best for the client is making the decision that's going to increase the probability of project success. So I guess the question is, what is project success? I mean, that would vary job to job. I guess, like would one architect pick a builder versus another builder because there would be less administration for them?
I reckon that's like the builder probably more on the relationship and the trust. Trust is obviously a big thing. They know that what they're designed is what they're going to get.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying before. Like the value proposition for us to the architect has to be around security. Yeah, which is
and they're doing, like, in theory, we're a subcontractor of the architect. So it's a matter of if they are going to go through the ECI process, they're picking us for a reason.
Yeah,
because they know that we're going to be able to deliver their outcome that they're wanting to achieve for their client.
Yeah,
and that's obviously at the end of the day, that's probably the most important aspect.
I mean, their job is very difficult in terms of because what you don't like about dealing direct with the client sometimes.
Yeah, they have to
cop on both.
Yeah, and they're copying it from us as well. So
yeah,
in theory, yeah.
Have you ever had an architect accept responsibility or liability for something that's for a design error?
Occasionally.
Okay.
Occasionally.
Do you hold that architect to high regard?
I respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Massive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really them. I mean, lawyers, accountants. I mean, which professional outfit accepts liability and says, "Sorry, we did something wrong."
Yeah.
It's just that.
It's a good point, actually.
It's just that. Have you ever had a lawyer say,
"Oh no,
sorry,
stuffed up there"? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's just the nature of.
Again, it's probably all the emotion that's in it that makes them accept that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're making thousands of decisions, and it's a numbers game, of course. That's why with my guys, I just tell them make decisions, just make decisions. They're going to be wrong, but just make them.
And that's what
better to make a decision.
Yeah, that's what we do with our PMs as well. Same thing.
Don't let things sit there and die or fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing it.
Yeah.
So what do you guys try to instill in the project management team? I guess are they really the engines sort of really pushing things along, would you say?
Yeah, look, I mean, the PM is really the engine of the job, pushing everything along, and as equally, equally the CAs as well, because they're doing the real grunt behind it. Yeah.
The stuff that the project manager doesn't want to do.
I mean, when they're chasing me to sign a subcontract, it's a CA's doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? Yeah. So in terms of the PM, just go out there, make decisions, have fun. It's
keep
building
it positive,
a house.
keep it positive.
Keep it positive. Like building a house is stressful enough.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to be going to work being stressed out of our brains and whatnot. Like remember to have fun. Like there's bigger things in life. And
So let's speak to the Dimpat culture. I guess how would you how do you guys see the culture at Dimpat, and sort of, or like what do you want it to be, or what are you working on? Just the culture.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, we'll kind of all work. Let's work and let's work.
Survival.
Yeah. We're kind of now, we've got young families. A lot of the guys that work for us have got young families. So, for us, a big thing is, we don't work weekends. we don't work ridiculous hours. Like there's bigger things in life than just work. So that's probably, I guess, the core of our culture, and is to have fun and, build awesome shit, basically.
Yeah.
And so one thing you said is your PMs are guys who came up through the company.
Yeah.
So did most of them come up as carpenters or supervisors?
Yeah, they all started as a carpenter.
Wow.
At one stage, and then that rolled on to, a site manager, and then we would have done one or two projects, and then the position became available, and we always look to recruit someone or promote someone from within the business before we look externally.
Yeah. So what does that life cycle look like from being a carpenter to becoming a project manager?
Our project managers, majority of our project managers have probably been with us for 6 years, I would say.
I was just thinking, two of them are like employees number 4 and 5. So yeah.
And one of them was when Adrian and I first started together.
Mm. I mean,
so he's been on and off with the business for probably 9 years.
I mean, they're in terms of culture. I mean, they're like leaders in your organisation.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's the culture is as much as it is up to you. It's up to them as well.
Yeah. And we give like I was saying before, like we will always look, if we're going to promote someone, we'll put it out to within the business first, and then if they want to go for it, they go for it, and we run it like a normal interview process. Yeah, and we select from there. So.
Can I ask, like, what you guys are looking for in those interviews, and like what sort of things you guys are, like for example, in an interview, my first question is always like, what are you looking for, and what your goals are, like, what do you guys have certain things?
I guess in terms of guys that are all currently with us, it's probably a bit different, the process, because we already know a lot about them.
Yeah,
it's probably more us explaining to them what they're getting themselves into, or potentially getting themselves
set the expectation.
Yeah. It also depends on the role that they want within the business as well. Like if we're going for a site manager from somewhere else, obviously previous projects and so forth is quintessential on who we're going to hire. But if we're looking to promote someone from within, someone that's just wants to give a fucking crack, basically, give it, go for it.
Yeah,
that's the big thing for us, and that's PM. That's someone that goes from a site manager to a PM, a carpenter to a site manager, or even just an apprentice that's been promoted into finish their apprenticeship. And that's a big drive.
Yeah.
That's a big drive for us. Like a lot of people have been within our business for a long time.
Yeah. One thing I heard recently about like when this guy was saying when he's hiring leaders or promoting leaders in his company, one thing that it looks for is something that he calls unimpeachable character, right? Someone who's honourable, someone who, if you gave them a briefcase of money and said hold it, they wouldn't fuck around with it.
Yeah,
things like that. Like, and I think that's so important in terms of, because they are the leaders in your company.
Yeah.
And like if the labourer sees the project manager do some dodgy shit, that's like
fish rots from the head, basically.
And like a big thing with in terms of project management, a big thing is they've got a lot of client interface as well, so they've got to be able to hold a conversation, just general gist. Really.
How do you train that? Because you can train emotional intelligence. Like how do you can you share it all? Like sort of what your conversations are with like a fresh project manager who's starting to go to these client meetings and starting to write these emails? Like what are the principles and things?
I sort of push, be yourself. Don't try and be someone that you're not. Just be your natural self, and that will get you a long way. If you start trying to be someone that you're not, that's when you'll start to make mistakes.
Right. So just being authentic.
And be seen through.
And people will see right through you.
Yeah. And what was I going to say?
You were going to speak to what you would say to a fresh project manager.
Oh, look, and I mean, most of them have already been on site. Well, all of ours anyway have been on site, in-site meetings. Already, probably got 1, 2, 3 years of sitting down fortnightly in the meeting and listening to what the PM's saying.
Yeah.
So they already understand, what that presentation aspect is like.
And the systems on how we run our site meetings and so forth as well. So, yeah.
And just, be yourself. If you don't know, say you don't know. Don't try to pretend that you know. That's a big one because you'll get caught out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that like, do you guys focus a lot on sort of making sure that there's as little fear as possible in the culture? Like,
yeah. We make ourselves approachable. That's a big thing. If you got an issue, any kind of issue, you can always come and
it doesn't matter where you are in the business or anything.
Yeah.
So no matter how badly someone messes something up,
they
talk to you.
Yeah,
that's important, isn't it?
We're very clear on not making sure there's levels within the business. You know, a first year apprentice can have a conversation on the phone to me for 20, 30 minutes, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you guys do one-on-ones with the guys, or?
Yeah, every 6 months.
Every 6 months.
Yeah.
Is that like a performance review, or just
it takes a long time.
How do you, so
when there's 40 people to go through, it takes a long time.
So could you just, I find this very interesting. Could you run through your KPIs? I'm not sure if you do performance reviews for labourers, but let's just say if you do, from your apprentices, from your labourers, apprentices up to your project managers, what do those KPIs look like in those reviews?
Like we have a set of questions on, on particular items, on, how they think they've performed over the last few, and then any issues or anything, what Dimpat can do for them, not so much what they can do for us, but what we can do for them.
And how we can improve.
Yeah. Which is a big one, because I think for us, it's very easy to say, oh, you should do this, this and this, but what should we do?
Yeah.
How do we improve? If no one's giving you that feedback.
Like, how do we make your workday better?
Yeah. I mean, I really love that you guys have a formal internal review process every 6 months.
Yeah.
I would just like to talk about, I guess, do you think you would benefit from having more frequent one-on-ones, even if there were 5 minutes each, in terms of creating more feedback loops and more opportunities for improvement?
We do probably have builder, project manager, site manager meetings every month.
Yeah.
For every project.
Yeah.
Which is where we get feedback on where the actual current job is at, which is great. And we generally get the apprentices and whoever's on site to sit in on those meetings as well, so they understand. And we probably catch up with particular teams within the office. We'd catch up with the estimating team weekly to see where the jobs are at, and we get feedback there. And we always ask the same questions. What can we do to help you?
Yeah, I mean, because ultimately that is your job.
Yeah.
That is your job, is to make sure that everyone is as well equipped as possible.
Yeah, it's people management really
to do their jobs.
Yeah,
because leveraging your time is a 1x thing. Leveraging 40 people's time is a 40x.
Yeah, exactly right.
Situation.
Yeah.
Hopefully more, because hopefully the cumulative efforts of everyone create something magically enormous.
Yeah, get everyone running in the same direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from a HR standpoint, 40 people, do you guys use like an external HR or internal HR or do you I mean, I sort of think
Bevan's got no hair.
I'm sort of the opinion, I mean, again, no experience running any sizable company, that you should probably not have a HR department for as long as possible.
Yeah. As we grew, it just naturally, one of us had to pick it up, and I think I just took the bull by the horns, and that's where it's just lumped onto me. So it's not an enjoyable job, but it's what needs to be done when you've got that many people, really.
So if there's an internal issue, two guys have a little bit of a tussle about something.
Yeah.
How do you might, again, don't say anything you don't want to say.
Oh, it hasn't come to anything. That hasn't eventuated.
Yeah.
So
again, I think, we've got really good guys. Everyone's on the same page. There's nothing kind of in that sense of HR.
No. Not a tussle as in like a punch on, but just a disagreement. Yeah.
I think everyone works well together, funnily enough.
Yeah, everyone's an adult. Yeah. Everyone's an adult.
Yeah.
Basically, deal with it like an adult.
Yeah.
And if there is an issue, then obviously we'll sort it out. And if there is an issue between people on site, then we'll swap things around and we'll move people from job to job. It's just, there's always a way. There's always a way to sort that. kind of thing out, really. But it hasn't happened very often, so luckily.
Yeah. So when you got 40 people, which means no doubt that there are people coming and going all the time.
Yeah.
So what do you guys have, like an onboarding process for when someone new comes, or is it just sort of slot them into the team? Or
we have a process that we've got when we get, for instance, with apprentices, I naturally go to people I know, and avenues that I know, which is, sort of local footy teams.
Sorry, I meant onboarding as in like once you've hired someone and
yeah.
you sort of onboard them onto the team. Do they just sort of come in and start working?
It kind of depends on the role, Charlie. Like if it's an office based role, they'll just come straight into it.
Yeah.
If it's a site based thing, with the site manager, we'll try and get them working with other site managers naturally, and acting as that sort of floating carpenter role, and so they can understand the systems within Dimpat and how we run each one of our jobs before. We'll just go, okay, here's a set of plans to a $4 million project. I can build it.
Yeah.
So that's not a way that we like to do things. So we'd naturally like them to understand how we operate as a business, and then after 3 months, and after 3 months, we'll sit down with them and go, okay, are you happy? Are you not happy? And we've always had people say they're happy. So, and then then we'll sit down. We'll spend a day with the PM and the site manager in the office. And we'll go, this is the job, we'll break it down, and then away we go.
Yeah. That's all, and that all requires a lot of energy, like in terms of onboarding someone and showing them everything and making sure that they understand what you're company is.
HR is it does take up a lot of my time. Yeah. But naturally I do. I don't mind it.
Yeah. So what's your sort of process in terms of letting people go? What do you is there a system where do you have some sort of a system where you'll talk to them and you'll make sure they understand where they stand and that their performance is lacking or whatever the issue is? Or is there a process around that for you?
In terms of somebody who's not performing, or somebody who's like, okay, I'm going to go do something else.
Let's say someone's underperforming.
In terms of, poor performance, fortunately...
We haven't had to deal with it much.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, it probably comes on to the onboarding, and we are very particular on who we hire.
Yeah.
And that's probably why a lot of energy is spent
doing it
and, making sure we get the right person to be
the right candidate for the role.
Yeah. And fortunately...
And we'll try and work with that person, really,
Yeah.
before it gets to the point where we have to fuck them off.
Yeah. I mean, churn's expensive and difficult.
Yeah.
So are you guys doing commercial work as well now?
Yes.
In what capacity? Is that is that multi-res or fit outs or?
So commercial we've always had in the background. So there's another director role, and he runs the commercial. It's kind of something we moonlighted with for a while. Then, funnily enough, at the beginning of COVID, we decided, let's give it a crack. Let's actually push this. We started it. COVID. Oh, great. Bad timing. So fortunately, we're able to mix that in with a couple of residential jobs, and now commercial, it's got its own team of 4 people, 2 guys on site. They got 5 jobs at the moment.
Yeah, 4 jobs. Mixed.
And it's mixed from fit outs to multi-res.
Yeah. So is that like more of a sister company type situation, or is it very much, are you guys very much involved as well?
Yeah, I mean, look, we meet up every week, or not every week, sorry, every fortnight, and run through everything across both businesses.
Adrian's probably more involved in commercial than what I would be.
Do you guys like that space?
Yes. I personally, I really love the fit outs because I think they transcend exactly what we do in the residential space in terms of, quality and just nice looking, I guess. Where I guess probably more the multi-res is not, because it's more churn and, get it up and
get on.
Right.
get
Yeah.
it done.
Yeah.
So why doesn't the so I'm curious. So you would rather build $6 million house than $6 million reno than a $6 million multi, like 4 units in Richmond or something.
Yeah, because we're suckers for punishment.
Yeah.
Mm.
Are the margins naturally better on the reno?
No, nah. Look, I would say
There's more
margins,
risk.
Yeah,
There's much more
there's,
risk.
There's higher risk.
Yeah.
In the reno
And more management overhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
But in terms of the delivery and personal satisfaction, yeah, that's what it comes down to. For probably more myself, I'm just personally, I get more satisfaction out of a delivery of out of a home project as opposed to a multi-res development.
Yeah, and I think that's important. At the end of the job, you want to step back and go. At the end of a job, you want to step back and go, "Wow, look what we've built."
Yeah,
and if you're doing 4 townhouses out in wherever, you kind of don't get that same satisfaction. And I shouldn't say that because I'm sure there is a lot of satisfaction in that, but in the space that we're in and where we've come from, for us, it's probably not.
Yeah, I mean the reason I ask is that space interests me a little bit. Like not 4 townhouses in Ringwood, but like if you like a nice multi-res project, where you're doing moderate to very nice fit outs in say 5 different apartments. Yeah, that you're resolving the design details once. You're essentially managing it once in a little bit. It's from a joinery contractor standpoint, it kind of feels like a good point between mass, which I can't compete on price, and crazy high end, which you can only do so much of at a time because the management overheads are so high in terms of how much time you're putting into it. So that's why I asked the question, because it's something that I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the advantage that we've got with the commercial arm of the business is it's just another avenue of work for us to explore. So, it's the same process. We're doing the same systems as we got in the residential business, but it's just in a commercial environment. Yeah. So if, for instance, an architect's got a project, whether it's a cafe or we're open, we're happy to do that kind of work because, we just like working for the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you guys, it's right now, it's really about finding the right clients and the right projects.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Whether it's residential, commercial, it doesn't matter.
We're kind of early days. It was, what can we do?
Yeah. Scratching.
We'll do what we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you see with the commercial side as well, like let's say with fit outs, it's they're quick, they're generally less emotional, generally better margins, much better cash flow. Is it a lot of those things as well?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a polar opposite to what naturally we're used to in the residential market. Yeah. And that's why Rollins looks after that realm.
Yeah. It's a different mindset, isn't
it? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then that's his background as well. So
yeah, because I know some of these, a lot of them are running like crazy, like 6-week, 8-week programs, doing a lot of work as well, not just like Yep. They're just not allowed the time to wait a couple extra weeks for joinery
whereas naturally we're trying to, we're doing a $2.5 million house in 15 months. It's very different. Whereas they're doing a $500,000 fit out in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Different game altogether.
I want to get to some of these questions that people asked on Instagram, because there was a question that related to that as well. Someone said, how much money do you guys make a year? We'll get to that later. six more beers and we'll ask that one. So that the one thing they asked is, how do you guys track wages and salaries spent on your in-house workers for each job? So how do you track overhead expense or factor that into project accounting?
Well,
if you do,
I guess for us, so we use a management system that's called Procore, and it's a beast of a software. It's I don't know if you know of it,
Yep,
but
we use the contractor login
Version,
Yeah.
yeah. That manages like everything from us, and our guys on site, daily timesheets, that gets tracked, and it's almost you could say to the day, but really, for instance, today by the end of Friday, we know what we've spent for the whole week.
Whereas, wind back 4 or 5 years ago, we used to use a lot of subcontractors, and you'd be getting a monthly invoice, and you budgeted for X amount of dollars, but it's coming with Y amount of dollars, and then it was at that point where we sat down together and we said, "All right, this is fucking we're up to shit."
Yeah,
that's when we decided to put everyone onto a salary based, and we look after all our staff, and we know each week what we're going to spend.
So are the guys like an hourly rate based or salary
based? Yeah,
salary. Okay, so their timesheets are just telling you which jobs they worked on.
Correct. It's
not for their
pay. And it's also backtracking, I guess, for estimating as well.
Yeah,
that's what it's used for.
So then, just a very micro question then. So it's like, are the guys expected to do overtime sometimes, or like is that a separate arrangement, or that just doesn't happen?
We try and avoid it.
Yeah.
But naturally things pop up that you need to stick around. But predominantly most of the boys would be packing up at 3:30.
Just
4 o'clock.
Do the 8 hours,
Yeah. And again, it comes down to we made a decision that we're not going to do these, although we still seem to. But we didn't want everyone to be working all weekend and long nights, long days. Like
and we won't. With our construction programs, we're running construction programs for an 8-hour day, not for longer.
Yeah. So can you guys input?
Which in theory is probably over the last couple of years has lost us work.
Yeah. Clients will choose another builder for a month on the program.
Yeah.
I mean, how often do you guys see them choose a month on a program, choose a program that's in your eyes just not possible? Like, does that happen? Or
it happens. Of course it happens. Yeah, it happens. And
of course you're going to stick to your guns. You're not going to say
you can only do what you can do.
Yeah.
Again, I guess it's that perfect like project management triangle of time, cost, and quality. And if you pull those in, something else has to give. So if you're moving so quickly, something else is going to have to drop off. And is it quality or
it's an unknown.
or cost? So
we'd rather stick to what we're doing and the way we like, and we're pretty steady on with our construction program. We don't like to tinker with it too much. Yeah.
So essentially, to answer the guy's question, so when you're estimating, you'll know sort of what your carpeting will cost you on that job that year.
Yeah.
You'll apply a margin to that, and then apply your overall builder's margin onto that, and you track that against the job as you go.
Yeah.
Now, another question: how do you make sure that your trades are looking at the drawings properly and making sure that they're building to the documentation? So obviously, with joiners, we do shop drawings, for example. But but even sometimes we'll miss an architectural alignment where that island's meant to line up with a window jamb.
Yeah.
Or something. So like what do you guys do? I mean, apart from over communicating, I guess.
Like obviously through Procore we run almost like a checklist for each trade. And it's basically it's the tick box, and it's a matter of
like an internal checklist for your guys to do?
Yeah. Site manager PM. So that component of the works comes up, it's gone through, it's ticked off. If it's not ticked off, then it's a matter of the PM addressing it and getting that subcontractor to come back to fix it or even do that component.
What about like before they're on site? Like do you guys take a lot of measures, or is it more of a checking things?
In a purchase order, we would outline the scope of works for that subcontractor.
Because they don't read that, do they?
Well, they should. They're signing it off. They should, in theory, Charlie. They should be reading it, not just signing it. So,
what about guys just trying to like weasel out of shit? Oh, I didn't allow for that.
Yeah,
that happens every day.
I didn't allow for that.
that happens every day.
I mean,
Charlie.
again, that comes down to subcontractor selection. Like, and early days used to get that a lot, but then
Early days. It still happens.
and yeah, it still happens, but probably less.
Who's the worst? Is it the plumbers or?
Well, it's the joiners. Or
I wouldn't say there's a worse trade.
Come on, mate. The scope creeps most on the joinery anyways.
Yeah, that's, I guess.
Yeah.
Just have checklists and processes
and many eyes over
communicate
it.
and select good subbies who have a track record of allowing for everything.
Yeah, and obviously we
No,
also
you don't always get everything right either. Like, it's about, okay, if a mistake's happened, why has that happened? How do we make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
Is the key.
Yeah.
Another good one. What's the current state of architectural documentation? Is it well coordinated or not? I mean, that's a general fucking question. You've seen great and you've seen shit. But
Did an architect ask that?
No, I don't know this guy's yet. Yeah.
I would say, everyone's time poor at the moment. So I guess it's probably degrading the documentation.
Yeah.
In the sense of coordination but it just also depends on the architect as well. Some are better than others.
I'm going to shout out Davidoff. I saw the best set of joinery plans recently. I was very impressed by their detailing on a lot of the things. Yeah,
it's good.
Like they really thought about. You're looking at me like you've experienced different or something.
No.
I'm just fucking. I'm talking shit.
No, I'm just interested. Yeah. Like, what did they do that made you go, wow? Like,
I'll show you guys later. But like for example, they had like a cable entry for a desk that was very well thought out. You know? And it would, and even if that panel exactly wasn't meant to cover the other one, it's like the intent is remarkably clear. It's not purely just a DNC. You work it out. Because that's what a lot of it is. It's this is what we're trying to achieve. It's like
this is the intent.
This is the intent. You work it out. Like it's no different to having a render and saying, go build it. Right. But you think that's because that just architects are time poor?
Well, we're also probably now building things that were done peak COVID. And people were working from home, consultants were working from home, we were working from home, we were pricing from home.
Yeah.
It's, it's recipe for disaster.
That's very valid.
Yeah. It's harder to
collaborate. And everything, and obviously people were also dealing with their home life and kids and family and this and that, and they're trying to juggle that and teach their kids at the same time, plus designing homes for clients. There's just so many potential issues.
Potential. Mate, you guys are too politically correct. You guys are like the TV hosts in mainstream media.
Better get the makeup done and put the screen on.
It's another difficult question. What's one thing you guys wish architects would do, but you don't want to ask them to do?
Better coordinated drawings.
Drawings. Yeah. You're building. That's what you're building off the drawings. Like. Yeah. And if it says one finish there and another one there, that's a lot of time, and that's a lot of potential for mistakes. And then addendums to plans, and then you're tracking all these different drawing sets, and then it's.
I'd probably more say revise their more drawings. It's probably more their specifications are too general.
The old NAT spec.
Yeah, the old cut paste specification is the big one that I find a lot.
But isn't the specification thing a lot of it's just like, I guess a lower level of understanding around construction or construction methodology. But that's where the ECI helps is because
but you got to refine it to the project that you've written them for.
Yeah,
not just a generic cut paste.
But what I would argue for them is their client doesn't care, as in like they're not incentivized to do it because the clients are paying them, you aren't paying them.
But theoretically the specifications outweighs the architectural drawing.
Well, which
is what can catch you out.
Right. So the specs take precedent over the drawings, but because the which client actually looks through the specs.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
so we're not gonna, if there's a little typo there or if something it doesn't, or if it says the address of the other job, the client won't see it anyway.
Yeah.
So I've seen that a lot recently. Wrong address on the spec sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
So just
And maybe standardization. So all specs, fixtures, and all that kind
But
of.
it's also probably keeping up with
shit.
current day regulations as well. Like regs have changed a lot. You know, and
a lot of specs haven't.
no, it's pretty much. I don't know. It's just it's a bit of a tough one. Just keeping up with codes is another thing as well in terms of their design.
one thing with the codes is I find it bizarre how difficult it is to access Australian standards. Isn't that really weird?
Yeah, free the Australian standards.
Free the Australian standards, baby. Like, what are we doing? You can download the BCA.
It is.
but like-
it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, you've got all these Australian standards that you have to purchase to.
That's why I downloaded them all at uni and fucking printed them.
Yeah.
See, I downloaded them, but I didn't print them, and then they expired. So
Yeah.
I got to ask this: you guys are builders. Which kids are producing the best construction management graduates? Oh wait, which unis? Well, but you guys don't hire out of unis.
no, we don't. But RMIT
RMIT, baby.
produces the best, allegedly.
I wouldn't know.
Which TAFE do you go to?
Went
Glen?
I went to NMIT, Heidelberg.
RMIT and MIT.
Yeah.
It's part of the same family, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't know. Like, I guess in terms of unis, there's really, RMIT and what's the one?
Surely your CAs. Where do your CAs come from? They come up as carpenters as well.
No, so our CA's a university, and it's Monash, isn't it? The one in Geelong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both out of Geelong.
Yeah.
Geelong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, they're good. Shout out, guys. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
So what are you guys working on at the moment? Like what are you guys excited about?
Go, you're the one with the new jobs. I've got
What's got you
relics.
What's got you excited?
Well, we've been sort of sitting around a sort of anywhere from 10 to 12 projects, probably for the last sort of 2 to 3 years. We're now, and the average project value is at around 2 million. We're probably set up more for a larger scale job. And it's
that surprises me that it's around 2 million.
Yeah.
I would have thought.
And we're like, I guess in terms of our budgeting and so forth, we are probably losing money on prelim because we're overspending to run the job better. And now we're sort of looking towards, as if you'd say 12 months from now, we're probably going to be taking on less projects, but our average will be around the 3.5 to 4. So, which has probably naturally happened with, consistent work, ongoing, job to job to job to job to job with, a few different firms and, delivering for them. They go, and we were sort of working with them on the next project whilst building that one through that whole ECI process or negotiated contract or along those lines. And then they can see that we're, our administration's really, really good. And naturally, that's what's probably exciting us a bit more is the sheer size of the jobs that we've got coming up.
Yeah. And are there any people in the industry or whether it's other companies or people or that you guys sort of look to and think like these guys are doing a really amazing job or you guys are learning from?
Not obviously there's there's people that we look at in terms of what are they doing and so forth. That's what every builder I guess would be doing. But I think we try and focus a lot on what we're doing ourselves as opposed to what others are doing and trying to match what others are doing. We'd rather focus on what we're doing and make sure what we're doing is correct and focus on that. if that kind of makes sense.
No, it does.
Yeah.
And
not worry about externally what others are doing and trying to pick up what others are doing. Yeah.
So, what was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about? Like, was there anything that you wanted to discuss, whether it's about Dimpat or the industry or otherwise?
No, I didn't even think about that. No, I don't know. Have you got anything?
Well, how are you finding it, Charlie, being someone new-ish, I guess?
New.
Yeah, in the industry.
Define that.
Define how you...
My Plot Joinery has been going for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And how have you found
That's
that
new.
with COVID and so forth?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's all I've known, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I did. I mean, at the start, with COVID, I mean, I was saying to someone, if I'm being completely honest, everyone's crying about cost of goods, but I don't think that's the main problem for us. Okay, so we've probably had 25% increase in cost of goods.
Yep.
But our cost of goods as our overall cost of production is probably only between 30, maybe 50%.
Mm.
It's the resulting supply chain issues. I mean, you're holding jobs for longer.
Yeah.
You're cash flowing jobs earlier and longer, and you're going back to jobs more times than you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have all the
Any
parts,
trip-
essentially.
Any trip to a job is $500 at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that's and then the management overhead and burden that places on your scheduling, and like if cabinet makers pre-COVID were struggling with scheduling,
Mm.
Yeah, look at it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
like
All right, so then for you, what's your perfect job? What's your perfect scenario?
I don't know, like someone who wants to pay a shitload of money for white boxes. I don't know. I mean, perfect job. Good. Yeah, I think a good. So like an interesting enough job that means that we can charge a good margin and be competitive, because for really basic jobs we're not competitive. So we're competitive enough on pricing, and then hopefully we can retain margin through beneficial factors like a great project team on the builder side, great documentation and an architect who plays ball and wants to work with us to make it work. Yeah, I'd say those three things.
No supply chain issues?
No, well, you can't control that, right? You can't.
But it's the perfect job, so.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, then it's nothing that needs to be pressed up, nothing that we're waiting for from interstate, nothing that,
Yeah.
all those, just your classic, you place your order before 2 p.m. and it shows up the next day. That's handy.
Those days are gone.
That's handy. That's really handy.
Yeah.
Because now it's not just not getting it, it's you're ordering and you've got to go through 20 alternatives before you can find something that you can actually use. And that whole process. Probably like when architects review drawings nice and quick and they provide good feedback and just those things, yeah. Good payment terms.
And then, so plot in 5 years, what does it look like? The classic question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so in 5 years we're going to be a fucking solid business, not a big business, like $5 million or something. Like not a big $5 million. And we're a $5 million high margin business. So $5 million making 30%, million and a half a year. And our brand is going to be at a stage where we're going to be able to leverage off it to venture into some other things.
Okay.
That's where we're going to be. And then and at that stage we're going to have leaders in the company who can run it, yield that high margin, and deploy that into other endeavors.
Interesting.
Sounds good.
What about for you guys?
Sign me up.
What about for you guys? So you guys will go from making $1.5 million a year each to making $22 million.
I wish. I think naturally would be to go down the development path. But let's
talk about that. That's how builders go broke, man.
Yes. quintessential to a broke builder.
Hey,
really.
we'll just use the funds from this claim on.
I think I think there's a big market for quality developments.
Well,
And I think it's really untested as well.
Yeah.
Because the classic developer will do
Run of the
run of the mill, really quite nice stuff, but nothing to the tier that we do.
I mean, if you look at if you want to talk quality of developments, look at what Baragushi's doing. You know,
Haven't seen it.
Agushi.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Agushi? Baragoushi. That's all he does is just build hectic houses in Melbourne. And he's a builder. I think he's even done a couple of DNCs, like where he'll get like a workroom or something to design
it up, and
he'll build it. And like in terms of quality, like he did one on Kooyong Road, I think 8 years ago. He sold it for 10 at the time, and then the client sold it for 14 like 3 years later. So I think that's
just a residential market, isn't it?
I think the value uplift reflected a little more than what the market did.
Yeah.
But I'm also a bit of a fanboy because Bear helped me a little bit when I was 18 and things like that. I'm putting it out there. I'd love to get him on the show, but he's ignored me.
Come on, Bear.
Come on, Bear.
Yeah, I think obviously naturally keep doing what we're doing because we're actually enjoying it. So,
but can you speak to the development? Like I'd love to because like I said, would you guys do DNC? And that doesn't make sense. And I agree, it doesn't really make sense. But the development thing does make sense because like I've said to another builder, I said, all the bullshit you deal with in your client relationship, if you do your own development, you harvest that as net margin.
Yeah.
All that time, all that management overhead, all the RFIs, all the variations, all the blah, blah, blah back and forth that you do.
Yeah.
That's at least 2% of your project cost, right?
Yeah.
Like at least 1 or 2% of your project cost. You harvest that as net margin on your own development.
Well, let's do it, Charlie. Come on. What are we waiting for?
So in 5 years where I'm making 1.5 million and you guys are making 86 million, I'll be a minority stakeholder in the development.
No. In 5 years, we'll come to you for the loan for the development.
Exactly.
Don't toy with a boy with dreams.
Yeah, that's probably.
I think that's it. Probably grow commercial a bit more.
Yeah,
naturally
that will grow. It's just a matter of keeping a control of that growth, and so it doesn't get too out of control too quickly. That's probably the big thing for us in terms of focus, which is probably a similar path to what we did with residential. Like we could have taken a jump probably 4 or 5 years ago, and we decided not to at the time because we didn't think that we were set up or ready to do that next tier of work. So now we're confident in what we've got and what we've set up, and we know that we can deliver that level. So it's a matter of doing the same process and the same system with commercial. So naturally, you're still here in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
You're not in a toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess final question for me would be who should get in touch with Dimpat? Whether it's clients, people who want to work with you, what's the archetype? Who should get in touch with Dimpat?
I think naturally people that want to work on high-end quality projects in terms of if it's a staff-based thing.
Have fun.
And people that want to enjoy coming to work or enjoy the process of building or enjoy and looking for someone that will build them something that's beautiful and will try and make it a fun process. Like we understand that a lot of the clients that are coming to us are spending a fair amount of money, and it's probably the biggest expense they're ever going to have in their whole life. So we naturally are trying to make it a smooth, enjoyable process as we can.
Yeah,
and that's naturally what we're trying to do because we want to come to work and enjoy it. I don't want to come to fucking work and hate what I fucking do.
and be stressed out.
out. Like we're trying to set up a business.
It sounds like you went through a few years of that.
I want to.
Look, early days we did. Early days it was, it's tough. It's tough starting.
Mate, it's tough. I just started. It's tough.
Yeah. It's a grind.
You got to get through. You got to get through it. And
persevere.
I think luckily now we're at a point where we can be a little bit selective, but it's a matter of it's picking the right client to work with us. And naturally, every project that we do with an architect is easier every time we work with them because you know the details that they want. The way they like to operate. They know the way that we operate, and it makes it a much smoother process each time.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to thank you again for coming on the show. I mean, I guess I'll just in closing share sort of like what Dimpat means to me. I like sort of as growing up as a kid, I always wanted to be a builder, right? So as a kid aspiring to get into the architectural game, you look at Instagram pages, you see your Agushis, you see your Dimpats and Visioneers and LBAs, and I do, at least in my mind, sort of growing up as a, like kids read comic books, like I looked at builders, right? So that like you guys were definitely in that space for me. So I just want to say I appreciate that.
No, thanks.
Thanks for watching us.
Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a show.